Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's a Sunday. Sorry there's no battle report today. I've been paying flat out and I'm super pumped about what I'm about to show you guys. So the new Space Marine Codex got released and most people jumped straight on the internet and, you know, here's the Codex, let's go through the Codex, blah 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 blah. I'm probably a little less stable than that, so what I've done is a really normal thing and went and painted an entirely new army over the last couple of weeks, probably 3 weeks this has taken me, once I got my hands on the Codex. Very excited to go back to the days of being able to create your own chapter, which is exactly what I've done here. So I've come up with a new chapter and I'm calling this chapter the Brimstone Boulders. The two chapter tactics that I've decided to go with is boulder fusalides. For those of you that don't know, that allows any bolt weaponry in your army to reroll ones to hit. So, you know, heavy boulders, bolt guns, hurricane boulders, boulders on bikes, boulders in drop pods, you name it. That's what it does. The other one's called Master Artisans, so that's the second one I chose. What that does is each unit gets one reroll to hit and one reroll to wound, but in each phase of the game. So in the shooting phase, the unit gets a reroll to hit and a reroll to wound. In the Overwatch, same again, and also in the combat phase. So this makes for some really handy things, like who doesn't, it's like free command points. So you got all your boulders re-rolling ones, and then obviously you've got that. So this army comes to a total of 1350 points. The reason it comes to 1350 points is because this is the army that I also wouldn't mind taking to Arc if I can make it down there. This time of year, me and the boys from the club either getting ready to go to Arc or everybody else is helping them practice for it. So this will be my practice / going to Arc list. So it's exactly 1350, which I'm super pumped about because who doesn't want their army to be exact points. So quick overview of the army. As you can see, it's all painted up. And the other thing I wanted to add is, sorry that noise, that's just me slapping my hands together with excitement, is that it is all 100% original Marines. There's no Primaris in this. Once I seen the new Codex, it just got me jacked up to paint old Marines. Now in saying that, I've got nothing against Primaris Marines. I was the first person at the club to assemble and paint an entire army of Blood Angels Primaris Marines as soon as they come out. Just when the new Codex come out, I have all these old models lying around from swap meets and all these sorts of things I've won at tournaments and that, and I just wanted to put together a list. So what I'm going to do now is go through the army unit by unit, tell you what I've chosen. So a quick overview, obviously, you know, we've got some land speeders, we've got the big Land Raider in the center, drop pod, because everyone's going crazy about drop pods. We've got our troops, got some heavy support, Thunderfire cannons, Devastators, all that fun stuff. So it's 9 command points, 1350 points on the button. Let's go through and break down each unit. Alright guys, so here's the HQs for the army. So there's 3 of. We've got, to start with, we've got what will be my chapter master on a bike. So I've armed him with a power fist and a storm bolter. So the idea of him is he's going to be giving full rerolls now that the new Codex allows it. And I've given him the storm bolter and the power fist because it's just cheap upgrades. So even if he's sitting back, he's pumping out 8 shots, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. And then in the tactical doctrine, that will give him AP1. And he's also just got a fist, just in case he needs to get into a fight. But his main role is to be able to zip around with things like land speeders, land raiders, stuff like that, and give a full reroll to hit. That's his job, to stay alive. He'll also be the warlord, which I'll give him Iron Resolve, which will mean that he's got +1 wound, and he also has a 6-up feel no pain. So he'll be tough 5, 7 wounds, his normal 3-up save, plus his invulnerable save, and he'll have a 6-up feel no pain. So he's by no means indestructible, but he'll hang around for a fair bit, and it makes for a pretty sturdy warlord. He's not too big, I can hide him and all the like. Then we've got another captain with a jump pack. So I've chopped up a few bits and bobs to make this captain. Now, as you can see, he's got a Eviscerator, but I'm going to be making it a chain sword. And the reason is because I'm going to give him the relic, the Teeth of Terror. So this captain will purely be to get in and fight stuff. The Teeth of Terror allows him to, it gives him +3 attacks, +1 strength, AP2, flat 2 damage. So that'll give him 7 attacks, then on the charge he'll have 8 attacks. That's just really good at clearing out chaff, Primaris Marines, all that sort of stuff. Orc knobs, even, you know, fighting 3-up wound models. You know, they're usually in smaller number, like a 3-man unit of Wraiths or Destroyers or something. He might be able to chain his way through that. AP2 is a pretty good sweet spot. Strength 5's not too bad. So he'll be able to put in some work. He comes in really cheap too. I think he's only about 90 points or something like that. So as far as like HQs go, I'm not spending a great deal of points, which is good. So then the next HQ I've got is just your Sword and Board Lieutenant. This was a special edition, one of those hero pack guys that I got. So what I've done here is, he's on a bit of a bigger base because his feet actually come attached to the base, and I couldn't really remove them. Oh, there we go, breaking him before I even use him. Yeah, so I had to glue him onto a bigger one. So, you know, if I'm in game and someone says something, I'm happy to take half an inch off measurement, but, you know, rule of cool, I want him to be on his base looking good. So all in all, these are really cheap. So he's only 63 points. He's also got his mastercrafted, oh, sorry about the blur there. He's got his mastercrafted bolt gun for the lieutenant. Then the bike captain comes in at 101 points, and then the other jump pack guy comes in at 93. So keeping them all really cheap. So they're my 3 HQs. Obviously the lieutenant gives the re-rolls to wounds, so he'll just go where needed. Alright, so that's the breakdown of my HQs. Reason I chose them. Bit of a beat stick. Support character that gives out a heap of re-rolls. And this guy's just a cheap 3rd HQ to give me re-rolls to wound on a roll of 1. Alright, so we'll go through and break down the troops. Alright guys, here's my troop selection. I've put the drop pod in there too, just because one of the troops selections will be going in the drop pod. So, first off we got 2 5-man units of tactical marines. 5 of them are armed with bolt guns, and there's a heavy weapon of a heavy bolter in there. So each of these are identical. The reason I've armed them that way, because with bolt fusalides they get reroll 1s with all bolt weaponry. And it's only 10 points for a heavy bolter, so for a unit this size, it's 70 points for a heavy bolter with them 5 guys, and they can also use the stratagem Hellfire rounds, which gives them the opportunity to do some mortal wounds if they need to put in work on a vehicle or something like that. You can only use that once per turn, but you just use it on the heavy bolter that has the best, I guess, line of sight or the most optimal target. They also get the Master Artisans, so that helps. You get a re-roll to hit and a re-roll to wound with that, so that can come in handy over the squad. Next we've got these guys. One of them's got a multi-melter, and then the sergeant has a chainsword and combi melter. Now they'll be going in this drop pod here, so they'll be coming down where needed, and I sort of thought I'd give them the melter weapons so that if they do land somewhere and need to put, like, if it's kill points, I can try and use them to help plug a tank or something like that, get in there, hit something big. Or in other battles, if the melter weaponry is not, you know, 100% necessary, still fire a shot off to kill something, but you can also land on a tactical objective if need be. Some of the other things we've done here is just cool poses on these guys. Like, done that guy, the sergeant of this squad, give him a bit of a Reaver look with his knife and stuff like that. Really cool. Some of these bolt weapons, these are the, I've given them these sort of heavy bolters because I reckon they look better in tactical squads as opposed to the belt fed one, which I think looks better in the Devastator squads. But just remembering all these troops, very cheap, and getting rerolls to hit with all bolt weaponries. Each unit gets 1 reroll to hit and wound. And that's about the size of the troops. Capture some objectives, you know the drill. Alright, we'll move along next to heavy support. Alright guys, on to heavy support. So what have I chosen for my heavy support? I have 3 of in this army. Heavy support's one of them slots where I always go a bit overboard on because you've got... You need heavy support, you need firepower. So first thing I chose, and the first thing I painted up was the Thunderfire cannon. The reason I painted up the Thunderfire cannon is because strength 5, AP 1, 1 damage, but in turn 1 it'll be AP 2. You get 4 D3 shots, so a maximum of 12, minimum of 4. You probably meet somewhere around the 8 each turn. hits on a 2 and can fire at things out of line of sight. It also comes with this handy dandy little tech marine who will not focus on, but there you go, probably because the Land Raider's behind him. He comes with a flamer and a plasma and whatnot, and can also repair other vehicles as if he was a tech marine in any other army. It's quite cheap, it's only around a bit under 100 points. You've got good firepower, and also you get this guy with it. It's got 2-up save. The reason I've added it in is because I fight a lot of things like riptides and all that sort of stuff, and their drones are just annoying. You don't want to waste heavy firepower on them. So what I'll do is I'll use this to target things like that, or things out of line of sight, like scouts holding onto an objective, something that really annoys you. You can also pay 2 command points to fire it again. So you fire it, and then if you're not happy with the result, pay 2 command points and fire it again. That's good bang for buck as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, they might have a couple of riptides. I'm using them as an example because in the meta these days, that's something people do. They spam riptides and they spam drones to protect them. You could probably delete 2 units of drones with this for 2 command points, which then allows all your things like your multi-melters, your las cannons and everything to just really target things like the riptide. Comes in handy against any other screens too, but let's be honest, the real reason it's in here is for riptide hunting and clearing objectives. Alright, next, iconic Land Raider Crusader. Love Land Raiders. If you're going to do a Space Marine army, put a Land Raider in it. Even if they're not as competitive as you think they are or are not, I think they're great. So what have I armed this one with? Obviously it comes with the 2 hurricane bolters and the assault cannon, twin assault cannon on front. I've also given it an extra storm bolter, and I've given it the multi-melter, which I'm really happy with. I put a bit of time into painting little bits and bobs on this just to give him some dynamicness. And the extra storm bolter for 2 points, because I had 2 points left. That's how we've gotten to exactly 1350. And what that does is means that at range 24 I've got 14 shots, in close I've got 28 shots. Now taking into account the army rule again, bolter fusalides, so all the bolters on this get to re-roll 1s to hit. Then you've got master artisans, which means maybe with the multi-melter I can re-roll to hit, re-roll to wound, depending if you want to use it with the assault cannon. So it's just going to be spitting out a ton of DACA. Turn 1, this is obviously going to be AP2, and this will be AP5. So the assault cannons will be AP2, which is pretty handy. But then in the tactical doctrine, it makes it pretty nasty as well, because you go down an AP with the assault cannons. This stays at AP4, that's more than enough. But all your bolt guns go up to AP1. So you're just spitting out a massive portion of AP1 DACA, just really spraying people, which I think really buffs up the value of the Land Raider Crusader, having all that AP1, like just drowning your opponent in shots. And even though it's only AP1, it's enough just to either remove their cover save, you know, force terminators or things with 2 up to take a 3 up. Just gives you a little bit more of a chance to remove them. Alright, next in there. Now, I watched the battle report on Striking Scorpion 82, and I've seen that his brother put together this Devastator squad of GRAV and deleted a Wraith Knight, I think it was. And I thought to myself, that is brilliant. With the new stratagem for them, it allows them to re-roll to wound, and also allows them to re-roll the amount of damage that they do. So I've got 4 of. So we got 4 of these guys identical. As you can see, painted them up. Got the sergeant, cool pose, kneeling down, bolt gun, pointing at what he wants eliminated. And then I paid the 5 points for the Armoureed CHERUB, because you get an extra round shooting. So the whole idea is, though these guys will probably go in the drop pod, or they can go in here or anywhere. There's a bit of flexibility with them. Like, look, if I'm not worried about getting shot off the board, I may even start them on the table. But I've kept half of the drop pod empty so that I can keep them off the battlefield and drop them in where they're most needed. Granted, they'll be hitting on 4s, but you know, you've got your sergeant in there, so one of them will be hitting at normal, and then you get your re-rolled hit and your re-rolled wound. The re-rolled wound, when you're playing the stratagem's not so handy, but in subsequent turns. The other reason that I put my chapter master on a bike as well is wherever I bring my drop pod down, he's got a movement of 20, so he'll be able to zoom over to him and give him full reroll. So if I really need this sort of stuff to be hitting hard, he can be there to give him the rerolls. In other games as well, you know, I'll probably have him behind this, so this will probably get full rerolls from him moving up the board. So that's the heavy support choices I've chosen. I think they're good, so I'm going to go with them. Alright, next thing we'll go fast attack. Probably my favourite part of the army. We'll get to it. Alright guys, here's the fast attack section. I couldn't be more than happy. When I opened up the new codex and saw the points drop for these things, they've literally dropped by half. Like for this loadout, they're 87 points for one of these. 87 points with the missiles and the heavy bolters. I'm just going to hands down say it, best fast attack option in the Space Marine Codex. If you don't like that, I don't know, write it in the comments, get all crazy, do your thing. But for 87 points, like, you got to think, you can't even take a tactical squad with a heavy weapon to like if you put a las cannon in a tactical squad, it comes to the same cost as this. This has got 2 missile launchers and a heavy bolter on it. It's fast moving. It's got the same amount. It's got actually 1 more wound than a tactical squad. I know if you take a Primaris squad, but then you got to remember a Primaris squad comes in at I think it's like 80 points to begin with, 20 points more roughly, something around that mark. I know they're different roles, but I'm just trying to give you an example of how cheap this heavy weapons platform is. So I've gone with 3 of them. I had 3 of them sitting there. They were like 150 points before the codex dropped, and I couldn't figure out a way to use them. As soon as this new codex come out, they already had the Typhoon and the heavy bolters sort of put on them, and I went, yep, I'm going with that. 3 of. So the way these are going to do, these are going to be my long range support. So they're tough 5. 6 wounds, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 up save. So they're not the hardiest vehicle to remove, but the whole idea of how you keep things like this safe is outranging other things. So you want to be sitting on the back of the board, outranging most small arms fire, and being maybe behind something that's line of sight blocking, them pop out, return fire. So with these, you got to remember, Master Artisans, so the heavy bolters get an automatic reroll 1 to hit, and then you've got another each unit, so 1, 2, 3, you get a free reroll to hit and a free reroll to wound. So say if you're behind a building or something, you've got to pop out, so you get a -1 to your hit, you get that reroll. Remembering once again, I also have the Chapter Master that can keep up with these things and follow him around and be where he needs to be to give a full reroll. So you can sort of see as I've gone through each unit, where the Chapter Master pops in and out of where he needs to be to give support to that unit. So with these guys, starting, they've got 2 missiles each if you're firing crack missiles. They're AP3 turn 1 and the heavy bolters are AP2. So you've got 6 strength 8 AP3s D6 damage. So if you're going first, you could easily nuke a vehicle or multiple vehicles with some good rolls. If you've got a clear chaff, you've got frag missiles, so each one of them gets 2d6 strength 4 shots. Turn 1, they're a heavy weapon, they'll be strength 6 AP1. So if you're facing hordes, if you're facing vehicles, these things are just all-round workhorses. I used to use them editions ago in my Blood Angels. I used to have the drop down 2 multi-melter ones, and they used to do work. But that's because they had the fasting. In this new edition, I think this is me personally the best way to run them. It's pretty cheap. Maybe have an experiment with them. You know, some people want to run them with flamers and stuff like that, getting them in people's faces. I can see the benefit of that as well. But this is how I'm running them, and that's what I've got so far. So that's the army overall. We'll go back to the army and then I'll summarise it. Alright guys, quick summarisation of the army. So, we've gone over each unit and that. Now, holistic tactics. So, first things first is being able to lower my drop count in the setup stages, and also being able to protect my Marines from small arms fire. So, let's have a look at it. These 2 units here can both fit in a drop pod, which they'll be off the board. So I've got a tactical squad, devastator squad, off the board. Then I can fit 1, 2 tactical units and these 2 HQs in the Land Raider. And then obviously all I'll have left on the board is the cannon out of sight, shooting things, because I'll try and hide that as best I can. the 3 land speeders and the Land Raider, and the captain on a bike. So that technically will give me 6 drops, so that's pretty good. And not only that, protect me from small arms fire. So in early stages of the battle as well, doing this tactic, I can keep the chapter master and these bigger vehicles all sort of bunched together, because you've got to remember it's all fast moving, and give the entire army re-rolls, and then with master artisans, re-rolls to wound on for 1 each unit. So then if we do decide to separate off from the chapter master, you're still getting your re-roll for your bolter, you're still getting your re-roll for master artisan. So the whole idea of this mad dog is to zip around with the rest of the army. So the whole idea of building this the way I did is to be traditional Marines, so fast moving strike force, like a surgical strike force with a bit of fire support. So I didn't want stagnant tanks, so that I wanted a big assault tank in the centre that's going to be moving around the board, supported by fast moving land speeders, drop pod coming in where it is. We got this guy to beat face where need be, this guy for some more reroll 1s to wounds. You know, we've got a lot of free rerolls in this army. It comes in at 9 command points. I spend 2 command points on him. Consider doing the chapter master every time, because it's 1 command point for a reroll, or you just give it to a bike captain at the start and you get rerolls for the entire game for 2 command points. How can you go wrong with that? I think I've got enough firepower, heavy support. I can fight in combat. It's not where the army wants to be though. So if I come up against combat heavy that really pins me down, that may be a little bit of a problem, but we'll worry about it when we get to that. With the new +1 attack when charged or charging might help me out. And like I said, I've got this guy with the power fist can fight, him with his big chainsaw can fight. Rest of it's guns, guns, guns. Alright, so hopefully this helps anyone when they're building an army. Hopefully it brings back a bit of nostalgia for people who like original Marines. I had a really great time making this list. Took me back to when I was younger, sort of. The first vehicle I ever bought was a Land Raider, like way back. God knows when, I've been playing for so long now. But just really iconic vehicles, really iconic stuff. Fell in love with all the models again. So I'm having a battle report tonight. It'll be the first time I use them, and I'll let you know how I go. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Give me some tips if after ARC's over and this is all done, things to grow the army, things you want to see in the army. There'll be no Primaris in this army, sorry. I've got other armies that I can put Primaris in if you want to talk about that. This is original Marines, keeping it original for the Emperor. Alright, see you later guys.